Dunbar-Ortiz clearly documents the origin of the controversial term Redskins. Authorities in Connecticut and Massachusetts during the Pequot War offered bounties on the heads of murdered indigenous people. In the 1670s, it became common practice along the Atlantic seaboard of gathering scalps for reward money. The corpses left in the field were termed redskins. The ranging, looting, and scalping continues in what became Georgia and Florida. British settlement in Georgia began with land-squatting settlers initiating ethnic cleansing through the irregular warfare. The Georgia colony officials sanctioned rangering forces to loot, burn, and pillage Spanish and indigenous groups in Florida. We know during the so-called French and Indian Wars of 1754 through 63, the indigenous people were caught up on different sides of conflicts between the French, British, and the emerging American colonial government. Mixed indigenous Acadian people of Micmac and Malliser people engaged in conflicts with the British and Anglo-American settlers who continued ranging and scalp hunting. The blood-drenched tactics and killing of women and children continued with indigenous groups such as the Abnaki villages along the St. Lawrence Seaway. Amherst, a British commander, is quoted as saying in part, "Send smallpox among those disaffected tribes." This marks the practice of German warfare against indigenous people of the Americas. Although the British were able to burn out and kill Cherokees of the Southeast, the Cherokee persevered because of their larger populations. With the Treaty of Paris in 1763, ceding Canada and all lands east of the Mississippi, the seasoned settler Indian fighters pressed west of the colonies due to the growth of large plantation ownerships. James Fenimore Cooper mythicized the indigenous killer settlers as heroes in the book The Last of the Mohicans. Thus, the stereotype of the brave frontier American is reinforced in movies based on the book. As the settler rangers pushed the indigenous people out of the colonies to places like the Ohio Valley, they continued extreme violence to annihilate non-combatants. The Shawnee retaliated and attempted peace with the British by the work of Tecumseh and his prophet brother Tenskwatawa as a spiritual leader. Yet the Shawnee, along with the Delaware, suffered torture and killing by Continental forces and settler rangers as they fought the British. Although most of the Delaware converted to peaceful British Christianization, they were unmercifully killed by the settler rangers. The indigenous are caught up between a triad of settler rangers, British, and colonial armed forces. The Cherokee, as a strong nation with a fairly stable government, suffered and retaliated against attacks by settler rangers who were developing continental colonial forces and the British, who constantly sought their alliance. As the 13 colonies built alliances and developed a large cohesive force, they overwhelmed separatist indigenous culture groups. The Haudenosaunee, or Iroquois, like the Cherokees, was a large contingent group to be reckoned with by the British and Continental government, with their settler forces. Nonetheless, the Six Nations Iroquois fought on different sides, as they had with the French and Indian Wars. Unfortunately, they sometimes fought each other, as the separation of the Mohawks and the Senecas aligned with the British. Yet George Washington advocated destroying the Iroquois.